Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another all new episode of The Crowning Achievement, the show where we explore the ins and the outs of some of your favorite esports personalities. My name is Fire Blaster, and I'll be your tour guide going through these trials and tribulations of going through these different personalities and everything, including TOs, players, commentators, and much more. Our guest for today is available and ready. We're gonna go ahead and get them on a call, and we'll go ahead and introduce them. So give me a second. Hello.
Hello.
There they are. So, today's guest is a person who's seen many places around the world and has shared their branded commentary with the world. They're here today to help share some of their story and some of their travels that they've experienced up to this point in their commentary career. Please help me in welcoming today's guest, Virum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a great pleasure. You're actually the first international, uh, guest on the show, so it's nice to break open waters because we really don't count Tony Z Tank. He claims he's number one Europe, but he doesn't count. He's not international. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let's start from the beginning. What region are you from?
I am from London in the UK, so obviously part of Europe as a whole. But yeah, and I've been living in London for my entire life.
Nice, nice. You can definitely hear the accent is really strong, which is one of the things that I like about meeting new people the most is hearing everybody's accents, where they come from, because even in America, and you can attest to this as well, as meeting people from different regions of the America, also you can hear the different accents of how they were brought up and how everything is, and I just enjoy. That's one thing that I have a great love for, is just hearing like the the tradition, of where people are from. So it's it's nice. How
Yeah,
long
definitely.
how long have you been going to events?
I've been going to Smash events since around 2012 is when I entered my first event. That would have
Hmm.
been for PM back in the day. But yeah, I've been attending Smash events pretty much ever since. I've been a little bit less active over the past couple of years, obviously due to a number of different factors, um, COVID included, of course. But yeah, I've been part of the scene for pretty much 10 years now.
Nice, nice. You gotta love to see the tenured people. It shows that it's not just a game to a lot of these people. It's a lifestyle, and that's nice to see. I have 7 years in the community, eight, almost eight now myself. So definitely, having seeing tenured people around is a nice thing because you don't see it very often as much as we used to back in the day a few years ago. So that's nice, definitely nice. What inspired you to start in esports, particularly? Anything in like fancying you to start playing in esports?
Honestly, nothing in particular. I just really enjoyed Smash back in the day. When I got into the game casually when I was a kid, and I discovered back in Brawl about like advanced tech and stuff, I just thought, oh man, this game is so cool. And then I eventually learned about my local scene, started going to tournaments, and then from there, I was just heavily invested in the game and its community. And I eventually started getting into commentary, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. I wouldn't say I was ever particularly looking to explicitly get into it,
Hmm.
but it just kind of happened due to the fact that I really enjoyed being a part of the scene.
Yeah, and that's definitely you hear that quite often. Is like a lot of times people. aren't particularly looking into getting into the esports. It's more common nowadays, but from when I started or when you started, it definitely wasn't one of those things. You're like, hey, we're gonna go play in esports. That wasn't a thing back then. Like it was just like the grassroots, the upbringing, like just starting out. So it's one of those things. Like I could definitely see, where you're coming from. Not because esports, like I said, wasn't really a thing back then as much as it is now.
Yeah, definitely, especially not within the Smash community. Very much a grassroots, and Smash community and FGC very much grassroots. Even to this day, um, it's not quite as heavy on the esports as say uh, Dota or League or any of those big kind of MOBAs and shooters. Uh, but we've been getting our foot in the door for the past few years at the very least.
Right. Yeah, you gotta get your foot in somewhere because uh, the more the merrier, the bigger portfolio you have, the better it looks for you as a commentator. So, it's definitely one of those things. What drives you to be successful in the community?
Um, I guess it would be a combination of things. One of which being the support of the people around me, both
Hmm.
from my friends directly as well as people that enjoy my commentary, people that have enjoyed my content and gameplay across the years, um, and just very much like a personal drive to just want to improve and be the best that I can be. I'm very much the kind of person where if I'm going to commit to something to a relatively frequent and committed degree, I want to do that as well as I can. I want to make sure that I'm uh, doing a good job, especially if it's something that affects the enjoyment of something for other people. A commentary is absolutely something that one does to affect the experience of people at home watching.
Hmm.
And so I want to make sure that I am delivering the best sort of experience that I can deliver to those people.
It's kind of selfless being a commentator sometimes because, you put your personality out on the line for other people to watch. You give them enjoyment, but yet there are going to be people that, with you being in the spotlight, might, like, not like specific things about the way you come across. So definitely can see, I have great, you know, I have a great drive for that as well. And it's definitely one of those things when you get criticized for what you're trying to do to help others. It kind of hurts sometimes, but it makes you better altogether.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's important to acknowledge that you're not going to be able to appeal to everybody, and I think that's absolutely fine. I think as long as you're able to remain motivated, you're able to remain humble, and you still make sure that you uh, evaluate what you're doing, you
Hmm.
understand the things that you're doing well, the things that you're doing wrong, and you genuinely try to look to improve upon those. I think that, at that point it's okay because you know that you're trying to be the best that you can be. But when push comes to shove, no one can really take that away from you.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a good perspective to have on things because a lot of people that, the outsiders looking in, if they got criticized on that, a lot of people would be, hey, I don't want to do this no more, kind of thing. So, uh, So obviously Virum isn't your original tag, right? So back when I first started watching the better commentators and stuff, you were known as Silent Doom. When did the switch happen? Like, what prompted the switch from going from the tag Silent Doom over to the Virum?
So I changed tags back at the very start of 2018. I remember this quite well. I'd had the Silent Doom tag um, originally on YouTube
Hmm.
since 2008. So I had that tag for 10 years. And honestly, the main reason as to why I wanted to change it was for the sake of personal branding. I think personally, I feel like Virum aligns a lot more with the sort of image that I'm trying to portray as a commentator and as a person.
Hmm.
Silent Doom will always be a part of a big part of who I am and was, hence why my social media handle is still Virum underscore SD. The SD is from Silent Doom.
Right.
But yeah, particularly for like larger events or maybe just a more just creating a much more kind of um accessible uh dare I say classy brand for myself.
That's fair. That's fair. More of like a comprehensive, like something that makes you look better in the long run. I could definitely, I can envy that. That's definitely one of those things. I know it was probably difficult for you at the beginning to try to, you know, get the change through people. So definitely one of those things. I could feel, I could feel for you. That's definitely one of those. That's definitely tough. So so obviously, being in the UK and Europe, it's your primary home, but as from what research that I've done, you've traveled the world quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of traveling over the past few years. I've been to various countries, even just sticking with Smash alone, I've been to, I want to say, almost 10 different countries. I think if I were to count them, including England, I've been to France,
Nice.
Spain, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, the US, various states in the US, as well as Japan, and there is one more that I am forgetting off the top of my head, but yeah, I've been to quite a few different places.
Nice, nice. It's nice to get well traveled, well seasoned, because you get to see the different cultures, the different native speakers, like just the atmosphere is completely different from one country to another, and like that must be super nice to get that opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, just being able to absorb little bits and pieces of different cultures. The Netherlands was the last country off the top of my head. I just remembered. But yeah, just being able to see and absorb little bits and pieces of different cultures, be able to um, enjoy different food from different countries. That's a really big one, and just see just kind of the environments. Like you can learn so much about a place, even in a relatively short space of time, as long as you're really paying attention to it.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people that I used to be a photographer myself, so like nature and beauty is one of those things I love to capture. So like
Mm,
it would mess some of those, especially the Netherlands. From what I've heard, it's a super gorgeous place to be. So like would have been one of those things. What if you
yeah.
if you had to rank the countries you've been to, where would you rank them? Obviously, your home nations would be number one, but where do the rest of them fall?
Gosh, that's a really tricky one because part of the experiences that I've had in different countries. I mean, the different experiences have been very varied, partially because they've been largely affected by the people that I've interacted
Hmm.
with, partially because I've been to them different amounts of times. For instance, I've been to France a lot more than I've been to Japan. For instance, I've only been to Japan once for a few days for Evo Japan at the start of 2020. But I've been to France multiple times, both for Smash and for my own leisure. Um, if I were to do a top three, if I were to
Hmm.
just kind of shortlist it to a top three, Japan was incredibly gorgeous. I would love to go there again for a more extended stay. Um, I really, really enjoy the Netherlands. There's quite a lot of familiarity there,
Hmm.
as well as just it's like a nicer, cleaner version of um, where I live in London, at least in terms of the places that I've been to, namely Utrecht and Amsterdam. So the Netherlands would be very high up there, and third would probably be hmm, uh probably Switzerland. Switzerland is, while very expensive, it's an incredibly gorgeous place. I went to a place called Lucerne in
Hmm.
Switzerland. It is one of the most picturesque places I have ever been to in my life. And the
That's
chocolate is very, very good.
that's coming from somebody that's overseas in London, which is a gorgeous place in its own right. But like, that's crazy that Switzerland and Netherlands and all that is nice. It's one of those things I want to travel eventually myself. So it's one of those things like you know you can learn a lot from other people's experiences. You can live through other people's shoes just by you know talking stories and stuff like that. So it sounds like you've definitely enjoyed yourself while you were doing that, and that's cool because we
Yeah.
only get to live once, so we might as well live it up.
Definitely.
So speaking of work, right? So being a commentator, who have been some of your favorite tourney co-commentators you've experienced up to this point in your career?
Um, the big one will always be Bowie, who is essentially my British partner in crime. He's kind of the one that got me into commentary in the first place. He's the person that I've worked with the most
Hmm.
over the past few years. We've commentated everything from London locals to major European um, major European tournaments to Nintendo official sponsored events. So he's definitely like my partner in crime. I also really love working with Vicky. She was kind of like my US partner in crime for a while. We'd often get blocks together. She was really, really fun to work with and just a lovely, lovely lady in general. But honestly, aside from that, I've definitely had the pleasure of working with a lot of incredibly talented and capable commentators over the years. I've been able to work with a lot of the um, big North American casters, TK, EE, Coney, Rod, uh, Baz, Max, etc., etc.
Nice.
One person that I'd really like to work with again that I haven't worked with in a while is Charles. I don't actually think we've done ultimate commentary together. The last time that we commentated something was back in Smash 4, and I think it was like an MSM.
Really?
So I'd love to work with yeah, I'd love to work with him again. And then the last one, of course, would be another one of my European well, another two of my European co-commentators. One is Ramses, who is also a very, very prolific coach within the scene, and my man Itano Circus, who is another UK commentator. They've always been a pleasure to work with as well.
And they're all just the list that you gave me there. I recognized so many names that were not just America, obviously, me being American, but like the foreign names that you're uh, saying from commentary. Definitely one of those things I've watched or followed pretty much every single one of those people that you listed. So like that's just crazy. Like just some of the experiences you've had. Let's do a little. Typically, we would have a game. I don't have a game prepared, which is sad. But I have something a little bit different. So, you being UK, right, and European, there's a lot of players that you get the chance to see that we don't get the chance to see. Uh, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to shout out 5 players, right, who you think if they got the chance to come over to America would thrive in this area. You give me those 5 players, and you're gonna give me a player, and then you'll give me the reason why. And I think that would be a nice contrast to compare to what we normally do on the show.
Okay. So the first one that will immediately come to mind is a young player from the UK called Bloom Forever.
Hmm.
He is many would agree he's the current best in the UK. He primarily mains Bayonetta. He's incredibly strong player in general. He did very, very well at Smash World Tour. I believe he won the European qualifier for Smash World Tour, but wasn't able to attend the main tournament because he's too young. He's only 16 right now, I believe, and I think the age limit for foreign entrance at the time was 18, but he is an absolutely incredible player. A lot of the time, one watches him play and it feels like there's still a lot of potential for him to
Mm,
unlock. He does main Bayonetta, but he's so proficient with so many different characters, and I think that's definitely a player that um, once he gets the chance to travel internationally, I definitely think that's one people need to look out for. The next player, I would say, I'm gonna try and jump between different countries here
you're
within
fine.
Europe. I think that'll be an interesting way to do it. Um, I would say the next would be he has had the chance to perform in the US before with Genesis, but I want to point him out again. Siski,
Mm,
the Spanish Samus player, the Dark Samus player,
yes.
very strong, very kind of patient, methodical Dark Samus. More than happy to just sit in the corner with that charge shot ready and just kind of play at that pace. And I think that's definitely very difficult to deal with. And I mean, he put on a really good show at Genesis. I believe he got was it? I think he got ninth. I think he
Mm-hmm.
did very
I
well in
think
that
so.
bracket.
Yes,
Um,
Siski is really good with their punish game as well. I noticed that. Like
yeah.
they wait for their opening. Once the opening comes up, like they knew how to take that stock and run with it.
hmm Uh, I'm trying to think of next player.
It doesn't have to
I
be
think
five. It could be three. It could be four. It's whatever you come to your mind.
yeah. Let me think. Actually, yeah, no, I think I'll pivot back to the UK and another player that personally I really enjoy watching and I think is very good is Curry Governor. He is
Mm.
from the Midland. He's from further up north than I am in the UK, but he is really solid cloud player and another one of the UK's best and just an incredibly entertaining player to watch. He plays a very kind of well-rounded methodical style of cloud and it's very much a case of you watch how he plays and it's very clear about the decisions that he's making. Personally, I'm a big fan of players like that where they kind of wear their decision making on
Mm.
their sleeve and you can tell like okay, this is the thought process that's going on in their head based on what their opponent's doing and they're adjusting their own gameplay and flowcharts around that. I really like those sorts of players. So if I would stick to three, since I'm having a little bit of trouble thinking of more off the top of my head that haven't really been to the US and haven't really had that kind of exposure, who I think could make a good impact, I think I'll just stick with those three.
That's fair. I mean, even Gluttony, really never got his shot to come to America until like Midwest Mayhem, like in Smash 4 was like one of the first times they're like, oh, you know, he gets to finally get to come to America, and then he came and didn't do the greatest, but then he's been coming back, and now you know, top 10 player in the world. So definitely those guys. All I think all three of those people that you said are definitely threats. They could be PGR players in my opinion. Definitely could do that if they came to the right tournament and had the right run. It could definitely be done.
Mm.
So let's do a dream scenario for you. It could be commentating with anyone at any tournament, anywhere. What would your dream scenario be?
Um, I feel like the go-to has always got to be like an Evo top eight. Obviously, Smash not being at Evo this year, but theoretically, if Smash Ultimate was ever brought back, being able to do an Evo top eight would be an amazing experience. Either that or being able to do another Ultimate Summit again would be amazing. I was able to do the second one, and that was an incredible time, one of my favorite events to ever cast. But to do another one, particularly with a handful of like different commentators. I'd love to be able to work it with like Hazmat and Charles, as I mentioned before, as well as TK, EE, Coney. I think that would be a really great talent roster to have
Mm-hmm.
for another Ultimate Summit.
Nice, nice. Speaking of Summit, so you went to Summit too, like you said. Tell us a little bit for the people at home. We had Adamisk on the show yesterday, and he told us a little bit about his experience at Summit. But from the perspective of a commentator, what did Summit 2 look like for you? Like, how was the experience? Like day to day. How did it differ from all the other tournaments?
The main thing was that it was very clear that because it was an invitational rather than an open tournament, the entire experience was catered to the small select people that were able to attend, or well, to the small select number of people that were
Mm-hmm.
technically brought in. So everyone was treated, in a word, everyone was kind of treated like kings. We were all very well fed. Everyone was able to stay in a nice hotel. But the overall vibe, particularly as a commentator, was very, very relaxed. I know, of course, as competitors, even though um, the overall atmosphere of Summit is supposed to kind of invoke a much more relaxed feeling, you still have the pressure of having to compete. But that's not there as a commentator. Commentators can just, when we're not when we don't need to come on the couch for our blocks, we can just kind of relax, have food, chat with the players, play friendlies, do whatever. Um, and even when we're on the couch and need to commentate, we're all just essentially having a chat with the four of us on that couch, talking about games or going over the whatever kind of fun activities that Summit has in store. So yeah, honestly, overall, it's just an incredibly fun time. Incredibly fun time. It's definitely the sort of event that if you feel like you're in the position to try to aim to try to get on that commentary roster, I mean, it's very tough. It's very, very tough because at the moment they're really kind of only looking at the top commentators to really
Mm-hmm.
pick up on that. But if you eventually want to try to aim for that kind of prolific status as a commentator, and trust me, it will take a long time. Um, Summit is definitely an event that you want to aim for. It is an incredible experience.
It's something to keep in mind. One of those things as a commentator myself, which you're aware of because I've asked you for advice previously. Definitely striving to eventually get to that point where I can get those big invitational events where, like, hey, Fire Blaster's a good commentator. We want to bring him out because of his specific style. So definitely one of those things. Like, uh, you know, it's definitely on my list. Let's put it that way. But I have to get to the major level first before you know we start fishing for the marlins and the trophy fish. We gotta slay the smaller ones first.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and we've talked about a lot of the good, like positives in community. Your positive experiences and stuff. Uh, and in life, there's always negatives that come with positives. So this is your opportunity. I want to use my platform to be more of a voice and an outlet for players and personalities to kind of give their opinion on things. Uh, what would you like to change what things do you not like about in the community, and what would you like to how would you change them, and why would you change them?
Um, the first thing that comes to mind is, and this is something that's incredibly difficult.